Every single press release we've put out about Curry has been a very positive advancement towards that Grand Slam that you've talked about. Everything has gotten better. Our understanding, the grades, we're starting to see more subsurface grades of consequence. 385 grams, I'm just rounding the number a little bit down, over 3 meters. That's huge.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry, Lutz, your host. Got a major sponsor update today from Tier 1 Silver. First news release of 2022 is out, showing the latest drill results. Tier 1 intersected 384.6 grams per ton silver equivalent over 3 meters at the Topal corridor. And let's find out more. We've got co-founder, co-chair Ivan Bebek with us, and of course, CEO, President Peter Dembicki. Gentlemen, welcome. Peter, you previously commented that Tier 1 Silver was in the infancy of a new silver discovery. If you had to rate it now, what inning do you think we're in?
Well, I love baseball, so baseball analogy is easy for me. Again, we are at the infancy. We just completed our first phase of drilling, our first pass. We reflect back 10 months ago, the company has gotten so much stronger and the project has gotten incredibly stronger as far as what we know and what we've learned. So, first inning, let's call it, maybe heading into the top of the second. And here we go as we start ramping up for the next inning on how to attack Curry. But what we know and what we've learned to date from this drill hole is we've identified, our fourth corridor that is now mineralized subsurface. And it really proves to us that all that endowment, all that rich surface grade that we've encountered over the last few years, pair that with the incredible trenching and channel sampling that we've encountered, we still have to prove it out subsurface. And this is our proof. This is our validation that we're on the right track as we hone and get ready for our phase 2 of our drill program. All this information is just going to help us with really good targeting.
Hey, and maybe you're in the top of the second inning with man at the plate and runners on first and second, and maybe we'll get a grand slam out of you yet. Ivan, these results appear to be confirmation of your thesis. We've been talking about this project goes back to 2016. What do you think is next ahead of us?
Well, it's, if you look at the results, and I think they got overshadowed by a 1,000-point down day in the Dow and everything else. But, I'm going to first point out what Peter said that's really important. Every single press release we've put out about Curry has been a very positive advancement towards that Grand Slam that you've talked about. Everything has gotten better. Our understanding, the grades, we're starting to see more subsurface grades of consequence. 385 grams, I'm just rounding the number a little bit down, over 3 meters. That's huge in this hole because the Topal corridor actually goes around the backside of the dome right up to Kambaya, where there's 20 meters of 300 grams silver in a surface trench, right? And so we're learning a lot about elevation, where we are in the system. And I said this in early interviews when we first got on to Curry before we were completely smothered with incredible bonanza grade everywhere. I just wanted to know where we were in the system and what kind of system we were in. And everything's pointing towards an intermediate sulfidation system, which would give you not only the big silver swing that we are obviously chasing right now, but potential for a porphyry is actually very real. And being on one of the most predominant porphyry belts in the world, that's a very big add-on. But most importantly, on this result over at Topal and the results that we see up at Kambaya, elevation is higher than the Madre vein, which is lower down, and we're seeing better grade and better widths. So for me, this is a very pivotal result. It's a spectacular stage. What's next? There's 5 more holes coming, and from my perspective, each batch of holes has taught us something new and something better about the project. So I think we're close, Kerry. I think we're really close to something spectacular here, not just in silver, but there might be a porphyry as well.
And that would be something. Peter, understanding that there are still 5 more drill holes to come that you're waiting on, the results, the assay, What effect do you think the results to date are going to have on 2022's drill program?
They have all the effect. They play such a big role in guidance for us. We're not going to set our targeting on our second phase of drilling until we have all the information downloaded. And that being said, with 5 holes yet to come to be released, we also have an incredible team internally within Tier 1 Silver on our board, advisors that we employ as consultants that we are bringing on here. World-renowned experts this next week are setting foot at Curabaya to get a huge download. So pair that with drill results, given the brightest minds in the industry that have seen everything and that are also experts specifically on these types of systems, we want to ensure that our second phase of drilling is going to be so focused and so on point, because we want to ensure that every dollar within our treasury is being used with focus and precision. We want this to be surgical, and we're going to have so much information by then from the best minds in the industry. Pair that with our SVP Christian Rios and what he's bringing to the table. We are in fantastic shape for this spring.
And Ivan, along those lines, Tier 1 Silver's financial position at present, future capital raises?
Yeah, the company's got actually more capital left over from the program than we anticipated. So we've got capital right through to the end of April, possibly into May. And so there's breathing room here, but obviously we're going to raise some capital at some point here, but there's more results pending. And what we're starting to see, to Peter's comment, is we're getting these world experts in to really strengthen the story, by committee of a huge team. And that's how our whole technical team works. We have different world experts in different facets of geology. But when we go out, and I believe it's mid-February, Peter, we'll go out, we're going to show everyone, what we're really up to. We're going to revisit the probability of how close are we to that Grand Slam. And, from what I'm seeing in early indications, I'm extremely encouraged. And I think it's going to be very, very compelling, and if you take a step away from the screen and you look at this as a shareholder and say, hey, look, all this bonanza grade, guys, where is it? I mean, this is a big area. It's 20 square kilometers with widespread bonanza grade. Bonanza grade's over a kilo up to 300 kilo silver. It's everywhere. If you look in our presentation, you'll see it on the map, right? Finding that source or where it all coalesces together, that's the multi-billion-dollar question we're trying to answer. And our message to everybody is quite succinct. Before we even say the word financing is, we're going to have a better handle on that here in the next 2 weeks after the last holes come in and a lot more data. So I'm pretty amped up. I think this one has really turned a corner for me from a what if scenario to, it might be scenario. And that's where we're really headed here. So, it's exciting. It's exciting to drill around some of the best grades I've ever seen in terms of silver over such a vast target area. And it's really exciting to see them start to get a handle on where this sources could be or where the more dominant, trenches are occurring, and that there's an actual concept developing that's very strong. So 16 holes in, we've got results from 11 of them. We've got a lot of news left to come, and it looks good. It's getting better each time.
And Peter, inflation, that's the talk of the day. Every company in the world is looking at rising costs. Some are hit worse than others. How's Tier 1 dealing with the inflationary environment?
As an exploration company, we get bombarded with, a lot of macro questions and macro concerns. We are nimble. We're small enough that, exploration companies aren't widely affected by, a lot of the political headline clickbait news that you read about in Peru, where it mostly affects larger producers in a completely different region. It's just the kind of the broad, perception that you get when you're active in a certain company. So in regards to inflation, no, it's not something that we're affected by and worry about on a day-to-day basis. Will there be COVID, carry down from operation standpoint? We've already dealt with delays of the labs for a period of time, but what we've recently noticed is they've really been picking them back up, and Peru's really turned the corner and is full steam ahead. So you know what? It's really not. The only thing that it has impacted us is, I would say, positively, is the price of silver and how that's going to affect the price of silver going forward. I mean, we can look even 1 month ago. silver was under $22 an ounce, people were kind of ready to throw in the towel and say, when's this ever going to happen? And here we are, hovering around 24. Anyone would have taken that. I think we all believe, and every one of your listeners believes, that this deserved to be north of 30 quite easily, and I think that's still coming. So we're starting to see cracks in the larger names, the big tech, the Dow rolling over. When that money doesn't just go and sit on the sidelines, it gets reallocated to sectors that are quite healthy, but have been quite beat up and out of favor. And that's an easy narrative to carry, and it makes a lot of sense. So silver's in that fantastic position. Has all the speculative investment nature of gold, has all the use case of copper. It's a perfect commodity, low barrier to entry. We're used to the volatility in our business, so that's not really an issue.
And Ivan, you mentioned, increased stock market volatility, recent moves in silver prices. What is your take on the more macro scene and how it affects Tier 1?
Sure. I was actually having a discussion today with an expert in industry, and what I pointed out when he was pointing out 1970 market and drawing parallels for the commodity market to what happened back then, where penny stocks went into the hundreds of dollars per share in the mining sector. All the similarities are there, but there's a few big differences. Number one is the population globally has doubled. The financial markets have more than doubled in terms of the capital that's being made. Yes, we're not going to lead the entire world ever, because there's not enough room in this market. This is a much smaller exploration market than we've ever seen in history, because there's a lot less discoveries and it's a lot harder to find things because all the easy things have been found. So, taking a swing for things like what Kerry could be, or Hurricane, or other projects silver could represent, these big swings that we're taking could really give that massive return that you dream about as a shareholder, because it's harder to find, there's less being found, production cliffs are looming, all the things are changing the paradigm on this next cycle that's going to come. Nobody has a magic bullet of what day it starts. And the only thing we can do, Peter and the rest of the team, we can prepare to be successful. How prepared can we be to really thrive with a big discovery when this happens? And I like to say that the heavy lifting, and there's always a phase of every project that's never been drilled before, that first year is where you find out if you should be there, if you have something real, or if you should leave. And everything we've seen is not only should we be here, but we might have more than we originally thought in terms of a porphyry that might get added to the story. This could become one of the most compelling discovery stories in the entire business in an environment that's far different than before. If you take one tech company's market cap, that's worth more than the entire mining community commodity investment globally. And that's a remarkable figure. So just imagine a small percentage realizing that we need commodities. They're harder to find. And they go back to the value proposition. Silver starts to perform, so does gold. That's when you get this robust super cycle, which I've heard industry experts comment, we're going to go into a 10-year super cycle. My opinion is 5, but some have 10, right? And so I think we're in this stage of almost there market-wise. Things look really obvious of what's expensive and what's cheap. There is no air in the commodity cycle at all. And there's a big bubble elsewhere. And this is when you can prepare properly and get ready to really thrive. And the team's now turning the corner with the project, a few more holes out, and the runway is going to be pretty obvious. We already know some obvious drill holes that we want to drill next. So that's an awesome place to be right now for Tier 1.
For sure. I have a question for both of you. Recent personnel change. Christian Rios has ascended to Senior VP of Exploration, replacing Dave Smithson. He's got a long involvement in the project. Peter?
To have Christian Rios being elevated from within our company as SVP of Exploration in Peru and to head up our team at Kerry, he was there at the infancy of this stage at Kerry and worked along Dave and really brought this one to where we are today. And to speak to that, having Dave depart our companies and lead the industry across the board, tough to see him go. I learned a tremendous amount from him over the last year, and he's done an incredibly detailed job at Kerry to get to this point. But with Christian and his team and what they're capable of doing with his silver exploration resume within Peru is huge. And to have someone like that, an expert like that, come in and to take the reins and build this thing to what we know it can be, we're really excited to have Christian on board.
Hey, Ivan, having a Peruvian at the forefront of exploration got benefits to it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can be Peruvian in Peru, there's a huge amount of benefits, whether they're politically, operationally, and everything else. But I'd like to, take a moment here to thank Dave for his work, all of his work. And it goes back to when I met him back in Caden days. He was a huge factor in selling Caden to Agnico Eagle. And he kind of led the charge for us in the field with Michael Hendrickson through Orin days. Dave was the first champion of Curry Baya, and I'm forever grateful for the work he's done and that he led us down this path. And a lot of respect for Dave. But in terms of leaving for personal reasons, the industry, not just ourselves, this is a substantial, shift for us in terms of a great guy. But we wish Dave the absolute very best, and we thank him for all of his contributions. Christian is somebody that it's a seamless transition. He was there from the beginning with Dave on Curry Baya. He drove through our permits. He gave us all the political guidance. And he's an incredible silver geologist, as well as a discovery geologist, working with people like David Lowell, the late David Lowell, one of the best discoverers in the world. Working with Christian, to me, has always been a pleasure, and the team and the rest of the geologists that are on the team in Peru all respect Christian. So the leadership's continuous, and we're going to have a really exciting second phase. I think he walks into the project as team leader at a very, very good time where, as I said before, the hard years behind us. We've got our targets, we've got theories, we've got concepts, those are improving. And now we get to drill the most exciting holes on this project, which could really do it for us. So really, really glad to welcome Christian. And thank you, Dave, and the best to you and your family. And I hope things find you as well as possible.
Yeah, good luck to you, Dave. It was always a pleasure working with you. Ivan, so the past 2 years, extremely challenging. COVID, you had delayed listing on the exchange, and market conditions. When you look back, is there something that you would have done differently?
Absolutely not. You look back, yes, we had a delayed listing. We financed at $1 Canadian per share, and we opened at $1.90 Canadian per share, extremely liquid, 80 to 90% above the actual financing price. It was a spectacular start to this company. In terms of the exploration, we worked 700 days last year with the team, and we got somewhere that usually takes a few years to get. And where we sit today is on the forefront of a world-class discovery in silver and possibly a big porphyry as well to go with it. I regret nothing of what we've done. I'm very proud of the team. I'm proud of how well Peter fit with the company. He's built an incredible culture. He's kept the company at the forefront of everyone's investment portfolio, and for all the very good reasons. So from my end of it, Kerry, I have zero regrets, and I'm actually impressed with what we're able to do with the only two things that we couldn't control, which you can't control what you can't control, which was the timing with the exchange, and we couldn't control the price of the silver and the sentiment of the market. What we did control really well was we prepared this company for a massive discovery, and these take time, but we were cutting that timeline down by being so aggressive. So I'm super appreciative of the entire team's effort that got us to this point, and I'm very proud of the year that Tier 1's had out the gate. And I think that going forward, there's a lot more to this story that's yet to be written, and that's a really awesome place to be in. It means the project is getting better, and it's going closer towards that big goal that we wanted to see.
As a wise mining company CEO once told me, you live or die by the drill bit. And clearly, Tier 1 silver is alive and quite well, and we should shortly see even more proof that they are onto something big, very big. So go over to the company's website, tier1silver.com, sign up for notifications so you don't miss the next big story. Tickers on the OTCQB, TSLVF, and of course on the venture TSLV. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and we'll touch base with you again shortly.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks, Kerry.
The Financial Survival Network.